We live right on the edge of wilderness, of wildness. And we have lions, grizzly bears, wolves, bull trout, and this isn't just ours. This belongs to everybody. Everybody has a stake in it.
This is where I was born, and this is where my father was raised. We're blessed in the Blackfoot with an abundant resource. You know, water, soils, wildlife, and the open space to manage all those in. There's a lot of value in being able to work with the land, the people on the land, our family, and then the community, right? There's a lot of reward in that.
I came here when I was 17 from Minnesota. It was a big learning curve for the Iverson family, and we about went broke. But folks up and down the valley helped my dad and us, you know, weather that storm. And then it became home. And so it became really important to my brother and I to take really good care of it, and it just became a part of who I am and what I do.
I am a part of the 5th generation on our ranch here in the Blackfoot Valley. Growing up here was the biggest blessing of my life. My soul and my heart are happy here. People pass by them every day, and I don't think that they recognize how crucial these working landscapes are for elk and deer, for grizzly bears and wolves, for all kinds of wildlife, for blue ribbon trout streams and rivers. They wouldn't exist without the habitats that working landscapes provide.
There's a lot of threats that come through this valley, from invasive species that come in our grasslands, drought, major wildfires that create issues that all of a sudden we don't have water quality or the cover. And that is a huge threat, not only for wildlife, but for domestic animals as well. In the early years, we weren't talking to each other and not really worrying about how our neighbors felt and how we integrated into their life and how we integrated into people farther downstream.
In every community, there were individuals, not many maybe, but every community in this valley, people who were interested in what was going to happen here. So we began talking about how we could get people to understand that they do have a stake in it and they have something to say about it. And they just needed to kind of get together, and so that's how we got started.
And when you look at our watershed map, there are a lot of people in the play, public and private. And Becky Garland from Lincoln said, you know, boy, if we're all going to get along, if we're going to be able to sit at that table, it's really going to be a challenge. And that's how we came up with the name Blackfoot Challenge.
You know, there's an old saying, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. So I was at the meetings early on, and I thought, well, there's got to be something there that I can learn from or contribute to.
There came a point where individuals from the agencies had been taking a lot of interest in what we were doing, and there was a lot of mistrust, and we had to overcome that mistrust.
In the early years, there was a lot of work being done on public lands that private landowners didn't understand or weren't a part of. I think we'd sort of forgotten about the value that communities bring to solutions across a watershed.
We were very lucky that we had agency people that were just really good at listening to people, which, of course, in my opinion, has always been the key to why it all worked, is listening to people, listening to your neighbors, and listening to the agency people, and the agency people listening to us.
So in the early days of conservation, I think in Montana and across the country, not just the Blackfoot Valley, you know, people really were going about it by themselves. So my memory is the first meetings that we had for the Blackfoot Challenge was in 1991. It was really a new concept, and it was like, yeah, let's sit down. Yeah, let's talk. Let's try to figure this out. And it really took all of us coming together to go, gosh, this is how conservation works. We all have to be pulling together for the same common goals. Otherwise, we're not going to be successful for sustaining communities, for sustaining water quality, dealing with recreation, managing our wildlife populations, all the things that we're dealing with.
You know, it seems to be a fact that most of us can agree on most things. Most of the values we have, if we care about the Blackfoot, we all share. You know, we share more values than not. You know, who doesn't want clean air, right? Water quality, healthy fish, open space, be able to see elk and deer from time to time. Who doesn't want to see that? Who doesn't want the community to be viable, right? And so focusing on what we agree on is how we build trust.
My husband and I are raising 2 small ranch kids. I often refer to them as feral, which is a bit how we like them. They're wild and silly and brilliant. I came here when I was 22 years old. I was 5 generations in California, and if you wanted to stay in agriculture, you were going to need to be ready to fight. And when I came to the Blackfoot, there was a very different feel. And it didn't take very long at all to figure out that the Blackfoot Challenge was out in front of that. The draw of communication and conversation and people at peace even when they didn't agree is what pulled me to it.
And when you do that, you really integrate people into a process of caring about land, caring about the value of their families. This is about creating a working landscape.
And that is a little bit of the three-legged stool, right? There's the economics, that has to be solid, sustainable. There's the resource, the ecology, that also has to be sustainable. And there's a social aspect. If there's not a local community for my kids to go to school, or my grandkids, you know, things will fall apart, right? In order to make one solid stool, all those legs have to be balanced.
The Blackfoot Challenge is a not-for-profit organization, and our board of directors is comprised of residents, ranchers, local businesses, NGO partners, and all public agencies who manage land in the Blackfoot watershed. We bring diverse interests to the table to share information, to find shared values, and to build partnerships to deliver solutions that matter to the community, the wildlife, and the land. Some of these solutions include removing livestock carcasses off of ranches so that grizzly bears and wolves don't come into close contact with people. We're also enhancing water storage in parts of the watershed through beaver dam mimicry. Our range riders are monitoring grizzly bears, wolves, and livestock across the landscape. We are working to put prescribed fire back in the landscape to enhance forest health and resiliency. And for many years, we've worked hard to reintroduce trumpeter swans.
So thank you to the Blackfoot Challenge for all your support and effort. All the private landowners in the Blackfoot that have swans nesting on your place, that have allowed us to come out and release swans. Science only takes you so far. It tells you where to work and what to do. It doesn't tell you how to do it. And really, what's important along with the science is the art of communicating. And it really works.
2021 Valley Rock Party.
That to me is the Blackfoot Challenge.
There's a lot of players, and I think anytime you're going to reach out to and respect a lot of people's opinions and input, the process is going to have to be thoughtful, and we're good at that. The Blackfoot Challenge is good at that. What makes it work is people are truly invested. I stay engaged now at this point because fast forward 15 years of being engaged with the challenge, and the results are so tangible.
But the critical thing is that the people who live here and work here step up to the plate and keep working together on resolving these issues as they come at us.
I think it's really easy to get caught up in what looks hard and the hurdles that are in front of you. High land prices and development, climate change, they seem insurmountable and they seem huge. But I have a lot of hope.
I mean, the worst thing we can do is throw our hands in the air and say, wow, we can't do anything about that. Yeah, we can do something about that.
And we can do this without fighting, and it'll better serve everybody. I think the whole world might be a little bit better if we could all function somewhat similar to that.
Of course, I'm an old man now, and I sort of feel I should step back and let the next generation or two take it on, and they have, and they've really come a long way with it, a lot further than what we ever imagined.
My biggest goal is that we'll leave the kids a legacy that they can continue to shape someday.
So I think we've come a long ways here in the Blackfoot Valley, and here we are 30 years later, right? We now have wolf packs within the Blackfoot watershed. We have grizzly bears on the valley floor. In my opinion, there's very few examples of that coexistence where it actually works. We have some conflicts, for sure, but the landowners are working together. It's really powerful to me that we have that here, and that I'm a small part of why all that is here.
So we're here for just a blink, right, in time, just a blink. But while we're here, we're important, each of us in the role we play. And maybe that's why we're here.
It's such a delightful thing to be able to take time in your old age to think about all the things that you've been involved in. So many good people you've known, so many good horses you've ridden, dogs you've worked with, and you realize it all comes down to the land and taking care of the land. Absolutely. And my ashes will be in this ground, and I am tied to it for eternity. And of course, I keep going back to that river, which has been rolling on for thousands and thousands of years. If we can just listen to the river and watch what it does, it will tell us how we're doing. Mm-hmm.